$150,000. That is the floor, salary, equity, onboarding costs, management time, lost pipeline, blown deals. That is what a bad AE hire costs a SaaS startup on average. And most founders, they do not even realize they hired the wrong person for 6 months. By the time they figure it out, the damage is already done. Here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody in recruiting is going to tell you. Most SaaS founders do not hire closers. They hire confidence, and it is not because founders are stupid. It is because the system is rigged to fool them. Fake AEs have figured out how to game every signal a founder uses to evaluate talent. They know the questions, they know the frameworks, they know what stories to tell. Real closers talk specifics, fake closers talk frameworks. And when you are sitting across from someone who sounds like they have read every sales book ever written, who has a polished answer for everything, who mirrors your energy perfectly, it is almost impossible to see it in an interview. I have been recruiting salespeople into SaaS companies for over a decade. I have placed over 1,000 reps, SDRs, AEs, closers, VPs of sales, into startups and scale-ups, from seed all the way to Series C. I have seen every version of this story. I have watched talented founders burn through 6 figures and 8 months of runway on someone who looked incredible on paper and on a Zoom call. I have also helped founders build elite teams that hit 120% of quota in their first 6 months. The difference, they knew what they were actually looking for. Today, I am going to break down exactly why founders keep falling into this trap and how to stop. I had a founder come to me after burning close to $400,000, a VP and 3 AEs who completely killed pipeline for almost 8 months. When I got on the call with them, he said something I will never forget. Jayce, they all interviewed incredibly. Every single one of them. What happened? And that question tells you everything. Because the interview is not the test. The field is the test. And those two environments reward completely different skill sets. Fake AEs know how to interview. Real AEs know how to close. Founders hire the rep they wish they were. Most SaaS founders are product people, technical people, or operators who have never personally carried a quota. So when they see someone walk in with supreme confidence, a clean close ratio on paper, and the ability to articulate any sales methodology, that person represents everything the founder thinks a great salesperson is. The problem, that image is almost entirely built on surface signals. Founders trust charisma over evidence. Charisma is real. Confidence is real. But charisma in a controlled environment does not predict performance in a cold, brutal sales cycle. Confidence is seductive. Confidence is not competence. Founders do not know what questions to ask, and fake AEs know it. The standard sales interview has not changed in 20 years. Walk me through your sales process. How do you handle objections? Tell me about your biggest win. Fake AEs have rehearsed these answers so many times they sound better than the real closers. Meanwhile, the real closers sometimes stumble on the interview because they spend their mental energy closing deals, not preparing interview scripts. Here is where it gets psychologically interesting. There is something I call the founder validation loop. When a founder is desperate to grow revenue, they need to believe the person they are about to hire is the answer. So they unconsciously look for confirmation. They want to be impressed. They want to feel certain. They want to stop carrying the anxiety of, we do not have a real sales team yet. And fake AEs are exceptionally good at feeding that need. They read the room. They mirror the founder's energy. They talk about vision. They align on culture. They say all the right things, and the founder walks away feeling like they just hired their killer. 6 months later, pipeline is half of what it should be. Deals are stalling. The rep is optimistic in every one-on-one, but nothing is actually closing. Hunters create pipeline. Passengers wait for leads. So what do you actually look for? Here's what I have learned after over 1,000 placements. Real closers tell you the exact number of cold calls it took to land an account. They remember the prospect's objection word for word. They know their metrics cold, not because they memorized them for the interview, but because they lived them. Ask them to sell you something right now. Watch what happens when you say no. Fake AEs back off politely. Real closers reframe, probe, and push respectfully because that is what they do by instinct. Ask for specific close-won deals. How many reps, deal size, sales cycle length, the story of how it progressed. Ask them what almost killed the deal. Fake AEs have clean stories. Real closers have messy, detailed ones. Call their old manager and ask one question. Would you hire them again? With no hesitation, then shut up and listen. The pause tells you everything. Ask them what their first 30 days would look like if you gave them 0 leads. Hunters have a plan. Passengers ask when marketing kicks in. Let me make this painfully clear. Fake AEs sell themselves in the interview. Real AEs sell outcomes in the field. Fake AEs talk about pipeline they almost closed. Real AEs talk about deals that were dead and they brought them back. Fake AEs love commission in theory. Real AEs are angry when they do not hit quota. Fake AEs need a perfect product. Real AEs know how to sell value in spite of gaps. Fake AEs need marketing to warm them up. Real AEs generate their own heat. Let me talk about what actually happens when you get this wrong. We are not just talking about money. We are talking about momentum. Average bad AE cost over $150,000. Time loss, 6 to 12 months. Pipeline shortfall, 40 to 60%. And your team's morale takes a hit across the board. Bad sales hires kill momentum quietly because it does not happen all at once. It is a slow leak. Every week, the pipeline looks a little thin. Every month, the forecast is a little optimistic. Every quarter, there is a new excuse. I have seen Series A companies get pushed back 18 months because their revenue numbers were not there for the next round. And when I dug in, it always came back to the same thing. The sales team was not built right from the start. You cannot fundraise your way out of a broken sales machine. And some founders figure this out too late. That is the part nobody talks about. That is the part one think about every time I get on a call with a founder who is panicking. If you are scaling a SaaS sales team right now, subscribe. Every week I break down the real stuff, how to hire killers, how to avoid expensive mistakes, how to build a revenue machine that actually works. And if you have ever hired an AE who crushed the interview and then completely disappeared on you in the field, drop it in the comments because you are not alone. And the pattern you will see in those comments, that is exactly what I'm going to break down next. Watch this next if you want to know how to structure a sales comp plan that attracts real closers, not just people who love commission in theory.